They declared him a failure. He reminded them he'd let them live. Part 1. The discarded sun. The ship landed on Valora Prime at exactly noon. Kang Do-hyun stepped out and looked at the sky. It was purple here. 2 suns burned in the distance, one orange and one white. He had never seen anything like it. But he did not show surprise on his face. He kept his expression calm and empty dot around him. Other students from different planets walked toward the massive building ahead. The Ascendant Academy. It was the most famous school in the entire galaxy. Only the best of every species came here to learn combat and strategy. Do-hyun was one of only 12 humans selected this year. He was 24 years old. Average height. Average build. Nothing special to look at. That was exactly how he wanted it. A tall creature with 4 arms and blue skin bumped into him as it walked past. It did not apologize. It did not even look at him. To aliens like that one, humans were nothing. A young species. Weak. Primitive. Not worth noticing. Do-hyun picked up his bag and kept walking. Inside the academy, the entrance hall was larger than any building on Earth. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Thousands of students stood in groups, talking in languages Do-hyun did not understand. He saw creatures with scales, creatures with feathers, creatures made of what looked like living stone. Some floated. Some had no visible eyes. Some were so beautiful they hurt to look at Dot, and then there were the humans. 12 of them, standing together in a small group near the wall. They looked nervous, out of place, like children at a party for adults. Do-hyun walked over to them. A young woman turned to greet him. She had sharp eyes and short black hair. Her name tag read Yoon-jia. "You must be the last one," she said. "I'm Jia, Engineering Division." "Do-hyun," he replied. "Combat and strategy." Her eyebrows went up slightly. "Combat? Good luck with that. I heard the instructors already think humans don't belong in that division." "I heard the same thing," Do-hyun said. He did not seem bothered. Before Jia could respond, a loud horn echoed through the hall. Everyone went silent. At the far end of the room, a platform rose from the floor. Standing on it was the largest insect Do-hyun had ever seen. It stood 3 meters tall, with a black shell that gleamed like metal. Its eyes were compound, made of thousands of tiny lenses. When it spoke, its voice came from speakers embedded in the walls. "I am Commander Velik," it said, "head of the Combat Division. You are here because your governments believe you are exceptional. I am here to show you that you are not. Most of you will fail. Most of you will go home. Only the strong will remain." Velik's many eyes scanned the crowd. They stopped on the group of humans. "Some of you," it continued, "should not be here at all. But the Galactic Concord has rules about inclusion. So we will give everyone a fair chance. Even the lesser species." Several aliens in the crowd laughed. Do-hyun felt Jia tense beside him. He stayed perfectly still. Over the next 3 days, all students went through evaluation tests. Physical strength, speed, reflexes, psionic abilities, technological knowledge, combat simulations. Do-hyun failed almost everything in the strength test. He lifted less than half of what most aliens could lift. In the speed test, he finished near the bottom. In the psionic test, he registered 0 ability, which was expected since humans had no mental powers. In combat simulation, he was eliminated in the first 30 seconds. By the end of the evaluations, his scores placed him in the lowest tier of students. He was assigned to Group 7, also known as the Development Group. This was where the academy put students they expected to quit. Commander Velik personally delivered the news to the human group. He stood before them with what might have been amusement on his alien face. 12 humans entered evaluation, Velik said. 12 humans scored in the bottom 20%. This is not a surprise. Your species is young. Your bodies are soft. Your minds are close to psionic energy. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. You are, by every measure, unfit for combat training. He looked directly at Do-Yun. You scored the lowest of all humans. You will be assigned to sanitation duty until you choose to leave, which I expect will be soon. Velik turned and walked away. Jia grabbed Do-Hyun's arm after the commander left. Her face was red with anger. Why? She demanded. I watched you train alone 2 nights ago. You move faster than anyone I've ever seen. You could have scored in the top 10. Why did you hold back? Do-Hyun looked at her calmly. Did you tell anyone what you saw? He asked. No, but good. Don't. Jia stared at him. I don't understand. They're humiliating you. They're humiliating all of us. Do-Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke in a voice so soft she had to lean in to hear. Every creature in this building thinks humans are weak. They think we are no threat. They ignore us. They dismiss us. They talk freely around us because they believe we don't matter. He paused. Do you know how valuable that is? Jia's eyes widened. They haven't earned the right to see what I can do, Do-Hyun continued. And until they do, I'm going to let them believe exactly what they want to believe. The fool who everyone ignores can go anywhere, can hear anything, can learn everything. He picked up a mop and bucket that had been left for him. I'm not here to prove myself to them, Jia. I'm here to be ready for whatever comes next. And when it comes, they'll wish they had paid more attention to the human with the mop. He walked away, leaving Jia standing alone with a new understanding forming in her mind. The academy had declared Kang Do-Hyun a failure. They had no idea what they had just let through their doors. They declared him a failure. He reminded them he'd let them live part 2. Shadows learned to watch 6 months passed. The academy continued as it always had. Elite students trained in combat halls. Instructors shouted orders. Ships flew overhead in practice formations. And every morning, Kang Do-Hyun pushed his cleaning cart through the hallways like he was invisible, because to them, he was that no one looked at the human janitor. No one stopped talking when he entered a room. Commanders discussed battle plans while he mopped the floor 3 meters away. Scientists argued about weapon designs while he emptied their trash. Security officers typed passwords into terminals while he cleaned the windows behind them. Do-Hyun saw everything. He heard everything. And he remembered everything. At night, when the academy slept, he trained alone in an abandoned storage room. He had found it during his 2nd week. No cameras. No sensors. No visitors. He could move freely there. He practiced combat forms he had learned as a child in Korea. He combined them with techniques he had observed from alien instructors. He studied recordings he had secretly made of elite students fighting. He improved. Every night, he got faster, stronger, more precise, but he never showed it. During the day, he was still the slow, clumsy human who could barely lift a heavy box. One evening, Yoon-Jia found him in the storage room. She had followed him. She wanted answers. I knew it, she said, watching him move through a combat sequence that would have impressed any instructor. I knew you weren't what you pretended to be. Do-Hyun stopped. He was not even breathing hard. You shouldn't be here, he said. Neither should you, apparently. She stepped closer. What are you planning, Do-Hyun? Why all this hiding? He considered her for a long moment. Then he decided to trust her. He needed at least one ally. Come with me, he said. He led her to a small room he had made into a secret office. The walls were covered with papers and screens. Maps of the academy. Lists of alien species and their weaknesses. security rotation schedules, names of every instructor and their combat styles, political information about the Galactic Concord. Gia stared at it all with her mouth open. "You've been spying on them," she whispered. "I've been learning," Dalhyun corrected. "There's a difference." He pointed to a section of the wall dedicated to something called the Hollow Dominion. "This is a military faction," he explained. "They broke away from the Concord 50 years ago. They believe that only the strongest species deserve to exist. They've been quiet lately. Too quiet. I've been reading intercepted communications. They're planning something big." Gia looked at him with new eyes. "How do you know about intercepted communications?" "I have a friend, Beek Suho. He's a human diplomat stationed here on Valora Prime. We served in the same military unit on Earth before I came here. He gives me information. I give him analysis. And the Academy doesn't know any of this?" Do-yoon shook his head. "The Academy thinks I'm an idiot who can't fight. They think humans are harmless. That's why they don't watch us. That's why they talk freely around me. And that's why I know things their own intelligence officers don't know." Gia sat down slowly. "You're waiting for something," she said. "That's what you told me 6 months ago. You're waiting for something to happen." "The Dominion will attack," Do-hyun said with certainty. "I don't know when, but I know it's coming. This Academy is a symbol of the Concord's power. It's a perfect target. And when they attack?" Do-hyun's eyes were cold. "When they attack, the aliens who called me a failure will see exactly what a human can do when he stops pretending." A week later, Do-hyun was cleaning Commander Velik's office when the commander returned unexpectedly. Velik stopped in the doorway. His compound eyes studied the human. "You," he said. "You're still here. Most humans quit after 2 months." Do-hyun kept cleaning. "I like the work, Commander." Velik walked closer. "I've been watching you, human. Not closely. You're not important enough for that. But I've noticed small things. You're always near important conversations. Always in rooms where you shouldn't be." Do-hyun said nothing. "I found your access logs," Velik continued. "You've been entering restricted areas, reading classified files." Do-hyun stopped cleaning. He turned to face the commander. "Are you going to expel me?" he asked calmly. Velik's mandibles clicked together. It might have been laughter. "No, I'm curious. I want to see what you're hiding." He stepped closer until he towered over the human. "Fight me. Right now. Show me what you really are." Do-hyun looked up at the massive insectoid. 3 meters of armored shell. 4 arms that could crush stone. Speed that most species couldn't even see. "No," Do-hyun said. Velik seemed surprised. "No? You refuse?" "If I fight you now," Do-hyun said quietly, "only one of us walks away. And you're more useful to me alive." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Velik stepped back. Something had changed in his compound eyes. Fear, perhaps. Or respect. Or both. "I'm going to report this to the council," he said. "I'm going to tell them you might be dangerous." "Tell them whatever you want," Do-hyun replied. "They won't believe you. I'm just a human. Remember?" He picked up his mop and walked out of the office. That night, Velik did report to the Academy Council. He told them the human janitor might be a threat. The council laughed. One of them said, "Commander, humans can barely tie their shoes without help. Focus on real problems." Velik did not argue, but he began to watch Do-hyun more carefully, and Do-hyun knew it. He didn't mind. Let the insect watch. Let him wonder. In his storage room that night, Do-hyun received a message from Suho. "Dominion fleet movements detected near the border. Something is happening. Stay alert." Do-hyun read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it. The storm was coming. He could feel it. He spent the rest of the night training harder than ever before. His body was ready. His mind was sharp. His knowledge was complete. When the Hollow Dominion finally came, they would find one human waiting for them. One human who had spent 6 months learning exactly how to destroy them. The Academy had ignored him. They had mocked him. They had called him a failure. Soon, they would learn that ignoring a human was the worst mistake they ever made. They declared him a failure. He reminded them he'd let them live Part 3. When the Hollow came, first explosion hit at midnight. Du Hyun was in his storage room when the wall shook. Alarms screamed through the Academy. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Through his window, he saw fire rising from the main power station. The Hollow Dominion had finally come. He moved quickly. From a hidden panel in the wall, he pulled out weapons he had stolen over 6 months. 2 plasma pistols, a combat knife made from alien metal, 3 explosive charges, a stolen military communicator. By the time he reached the main corridor, chaos had taken over. Students ran in every direction. Some screamed. Some cried. The elite warriors who had trained for years suddenly looked like frightened children. Another explosion. Closer this time. The Academy's shields were falling. Do-hyun ran toward the fighting, not away from it. Near the eastern gate, he found them. Dominion soldiers. They were massive reptilian creatures, covered in natural armor that could stop most weapons. Each one stood over 2 meters tall. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dark. They moved through the Academy like death itself, killing everything in their path. A group of 12 soldiers had captured a classroom. Inside, 20 students knelt on the floor with their hands behind their heads. One of the soldiers was giving orders. "Execute them," it said in a deep, rumbling voice. "The Concord needs to know we show no mercy." The soldiers raised their weapons. Do-hyun came through the window. He moved faster than any human should be able to move. His first shot took out the commanding soldier before it could react. His second and third shots hit 2 more soldiers in the weak points of their armor, spots he had studied for months. Then he was among them, too close for guns. His knife found gaps between scales. His hands struck nerve clusters that would paralyze. He used their own size against them, staying too close for them to bring their weapons to bear. 90 seconds. 12 soldiers. All dead. The students stared at him in shock. They didn't understand what they had just seen. Neither did the one person standing at the door. Yoon-jia. She had come looking for him. Now she stood frozen, watching blood drip from his knife. "You," she whispered. "You killed all of them." Do-hyun looked at her. His eyes were cold and focused. This was not the quiet janitor she knew. This was something else entirely. "I need you to focus," he said calmly. "More are coming. Get these students to the underground shelter. Do you know where it is?" Jia nodded slowly. "Good. Go. I'll find you later." "What are you going to do?" Do-hyun reloaded his weapons. "What I came here to do." He disappeared into the smoke. Over the next 3 hours, Kang Do-hyun became a nightmare for the Dominion forces. He appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before they could respond. He used every piece of information he had gathered. He knew the Academy's layout better than the Defenders. He knew the Dominion soldiers' weak points better than their own medics. Bodies began to pile up. The Dominion commanders grew confused. Their communications were filled with panicked reports. Unknown attacker, possibly multiple hostiles. Request reinforcements. But no one could find him. No one could stop him. Meanwhile, Do-hyun found survivors and organized them. He found Han Hyunbi, a young human medic, treating wounded students in a destroyed hallway. He gave her command of all medical operations. "Set up a station in the underground shelter," he ordered. "Sort patients by severity. Save who you can. Don't waste supplies on those who won't survive. Umbi's hands were shaking, but she nodded. She had never seen combat before, but something in Daewon's voice made her believe she could do this. He found Yoon Taiwu, another human, hiding near the shuttle bay. Taiwu was a pilot, one of the best in his class, but fear had frozen him. "I need you to fly," Do-Yoon said. "I can't," Taiwu replied. "They shot down every ship that tried to escape. I don't want you to escape. I want you to evacuate civilians to the eastern mountains. Low altitude, below their sensor range. Can you do that?" Taiwu looked at him. Slowly, the fear in his eyes turned to something else, purpose. "Yes," he said. "I can do that." By morning, Do-Yoon had built a resistance. Humans and aliens worked together under his command. He assigned tasks based on each species' strengths, using knowledge he had gathered for months. The strong ones built barricades. The fast ones ran messages. The smart ones worked on restoring communications. The academy was still under attack, but it was no longer helpless. Commander Velik was brought to him on a stretcher. The insectoid commander had been badly wounded defending the main gate. 3 of his arms were broken. His shell was cracked in multiple places. Do-Yoon knelt beside him. "Human," Velik said weakly. His voice was thick with pain. You were hiding this." "All along, yes. Why?" Do-Yoon was quiet for a moment. "Because I needed to be underestimated. I needed access. I needed time. And I needed the enemy to think humans were weak." Velik's compound eyes focused on him. "What are you?" Do-Yoon helped lift the commander onto a medical cart. "I'm what happens when you underestimate someone for 300 years, he said. "My species has been fighting wars since before your kind developed space travel. Every generation learned from the one before. Every defeat made us stronger. Every enemy taught us something new." He signaled for the medics to take Velik away. "You looked at humans and saw prey," Do-Yoon continued. "You should have seen predators." Velik said nothing as they carried him to the medical station. But he never forgot those words. By noon, Do-Yoon had killed over 50 Dominion soldiers personally. The academy was still surrounded, but it was holding. Reinforcements from the Galactic Concord were on their way, but Do-Yoon knew they wouldn't arrive in time. The Dominion was preparing a final assault. They would throw everything they had at the academy and crush it before help could arrive. He gathered his small council: Jia, Umbi, Taiwu, and a few alien officers who had accepted his leadership. "They'll attack at sunset," Do-Yoon said. "Full force. We can't stop them with defense alone." "Then what do we do?" Jia asked. Do-Yoon looked at each of them. His face was calm, certain. "We stop defending," he said. "We attack first." The aliens looked at him like he was insane, but the humans understood. They had studied history. They knew what their species could do when survival was at stake. The Dominion wanted a war. Do-Yoon was about to give them one. They declared him a failure. He reminded them he'd let them live. Part 4. The human doctrine. Dominion had never faced anything like this. They were used to war on a grand scale. Massive fleets. Overwhelming force. Enemies who fought in predictable formations and died in predictable ways. That was how the galaxy waged war. But Kang Do-Yoon did not fight like the galaxy. He fought like a human. He called it the human doctrine. It had no official rules, no written code. It was simply the way humans had learned to survive when they were weaker than their enemies. Hit and run. Strike from shadows. Attack where they don't expect. Never fight fair. On the first night, Do-Yoon sent small teams to poison the Dominion's water supply. Not with anything deadly, just a mild toxin that caused stomach pain and weakness. Within hours, half the enemy soldiers were sick. On the second night, he had his teams make noise all around the Dominion camp. Explosions in one direction, screaming in another, shadows moving everywhere. The enemy soldiers couldn't sleep. They jumped at every sound. On the third night, the real attacks began. Do-hyun led personally. His team struck supply depots, destroyed communication relays, and killed officers in their sleep. They never engaged the main force directly. They chipped away at it, piece by piece, like wolves hunting something too large to kill in one bite. The Dominion commander, Warlord Thren, grew furious. "Find the human," he roared at his officers. "Bring him to me alive. I want to kill him myself." But they couldn't find him. Do-hyun knew the academy grounds better than anyone. He moved through tunnels that weren't on any map. He hid in places no one thought to look. And every time the Dominion sent hunters after him, they never came back. Meanwhile, Baek Suho, the human diplomat, had managed to send a transmission to Earth. The message included video of Do-hyun and his resistance fighters. It showed humans leaving aliens in battle. It showed the enemy being pushed back by a force that should have been destroyed in the first hour. The transmission spread across Concord space in hours. For the first time in galactic history, everyone was watching humans fight, and they were terrified, not of the Dominion, of the humans. On the fourth day, Thren sent a message to the academy. He wanted to negotiate. "I offer a deal," his message said. "Surrender the human called Kang Do-hyun. Give him to me, and I will spare the remaining students. You have until sunset." The Academy Council wanted to accept. Some of them had never liked the human anyway. Why should hundreds die for one man? Do-hyun heard about the discussion and walked into the council chamber himself. "I'll go," he said simply. Jia grabbed his arm. "You can't. He'll kill you." "Probably." Do-hyun looked at her calmly. "But I need to speak with him face to face. There are things I can only do in person." No one tried to stop him. Part of them was relieved. Part of them felt ashamed of that relief. Do-hyun walked out of the academy alone, carrying no visible weapons. The Dominion camp was a short distance away. Thousands of soldiers watched as the single human walked toward them. They had heard stories about this creature. They had lost friends to him. Now they finally saw him. He was smaller than they expected. Softer, weaker looking. How had this thing killed so many of them? Warlord Thren waited in his command tent. He was enormous even by Dominion standards. 3 meters of muscle, scales, and natural armor. His eyes burned with hatred. "So," Thren said as Do-hyun entered, "you are the human who has caused me so much trouble. And you are the warlord who thought attacking a school would be easy." Do-hyun replied. Thren's claws dug into his throne. "You dare mock me? I'm stating facts." Do-hyun stood perfectly still, showing no fear. "You brought 4,000 soldiers to take one building. I had less than 300 defenders. You should have won in an hour. Instead, you've lost 400 soldiers in 4 days. By your own standards, this battle is a failure." Thren stood up. He towered over the human like a mountain over an ant. "I could kill you with one hand," he growled. "Yes," Do-hyun agreed. "But you won't, because you're curious. You want to know how a species you consider primitive managed to do this to you." Thren paused. He hated that the human was right. "Tell me then," the warlord said, "what makes humans so dangerous?" Do-hyun smiled. It was a cold smile without warmth. "We remember," he said, "every defeat, every humiliation, every time someone stronger hurt us. We write it down. We teach our children. We carry grudges across generations. And we wait." He stepped closer to the massive alien. "Your species rose to power 10,000 years ago. You conquered dozens of worlds. You thought you were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. But humans were fighting each other before you even developed fire. We've had 100,000 years of practice killing things bigger and stronger than us. Thren's eyes narrowed. When I was a child, Do-yoon continued, I learned about every war my species ever fought. I studied every tactic, every strategy, every trick. And when I came to this academy, I learned about your species too. Your weaknesses, your blind spots, your arrogance. He was very close to Thren now, within killing range. You thought this would be easy because humans are weak, Do-yoon said softly. But weakness isn't about what you are. It's about what you know. And I know exactly how to destroy you. Thren attacked. He was fast. Incredibly fast. His claws could cut through metal. His strength could crush stone. He had killed hundreds of enemies in personal combat. He was dead in 8 seconds. Do-yoon moved like water. Every strike the warlord threw hit empty air. Every opening in the alien's defense was exploited. Do-yoon's knife found the gaps in natural armor that he had memorized from medical files. His hand struck nerve points that caused paralysis. When it was over, Thren lay on the ground, unable to move. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. Impossible, he gasped. Do-hyun stood over him. No, just human. He reached down and cut off Thren's ceremonial crest, a bone ridge on the warlord's head that symbolized his rank. In Dominion culture, losing your crest was the ultimate defeat. Worse than death. Then Do-yoon walked out of the tent carrying the crest. 4,000 Dominion soldiers saw their warlord's symbol in the human's hand. They knew what it meant. No one tried to stop him as he walked back to the academy. Behind him, the Dominion army began to fall apart. Without their leader, without hope of victory, the soldiers had no reason to keep fighting. By morning, they would be retreating. Do-yoon had won, and the galaxy had just learned what happens when you underestimate humanity. They declared him a failure. He reminded them he'd let them live. Part 5. The Weight of Mercy. The Concord reinforcements arrived 2 days later. By then, there was nothing left to fight. The Dominion army had retreated. Their ships were fleeing back to their own territory. The battle for Valora Prime was over. The academy was in ruins. Half the buildings were destroyed. Hundreds of students and instructors had died. But thousands more were alive because of one man. News of what happened spread across the galaxy in hours. Every species heard about the human janitor who had defeated an entire army. They saw the video of Do-yoon walking out of Thren's tent with the warlord's crest. They heard stories from survivors who described what he had done. The galaxy had a new opinion about humans. And it was not what it used to be. 3 weeks after the battle, the Academy Council called a special meeting. All surviving instructors attended. Representatives from 12 major species were present. And at the center of it all, standing alone before them, was Kang Do-hyun. The council chamber was massive and silent. Thousands of eyes looked down at the human. Some showed gratitude. Some showed fear. Many showed both. The High Chancellor, an ancient being made of crystallized energy, spoke first. Kang Do-hyun of Earth, you have been called here to account for your actions during the Dominion attack. Do you understand the charges against you? Do nodded. I do. You entered restricted areas without authorization. You stole weapons. You accessed classified information. You deceived your instructors about your true abilities. You took command of Concord forces without proper rank or permission. The Chancellor paused. You also saved approximately 4,000 lives and single-handedly ended an invasion that should have destroyed this academy. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several council members believe you should be imprisoned, the Chancellor continued. They say you are dangerous, unpredictable, a threat to galactic security. Do-hyun said nothing. He waited. What are you saying your defense? Do-hyun looked around the chamber, at the aliens who had mocked him, at the instructors who had called him a failure, at the leaders who had ignored every warning about the Dominion attack. Then he spoke. You called my species primitive, he said. His voice was calm, but carried through the entire chamber. You said we were weak. You looked at humanity and saw nothing worth respecting. You were right about some things. We don't have psionic powers. We don't have natural armor. We don't live as long as most of you. We don't have ancient technology or powerful allies. He stepped forward. But you missed something important. You missed 10,000 years of history. 10,000 years of humans fighting to survive. Every war we ever fought taught us something. Every enemy we ever faced made us stronger. Every time we should have died, we found a way to live. His eyes moved across the council members. You looked at humanity and saw prey. You should have seen what we really are. Survivors. Adapters. Learners. We are the species that hunted animals 10 times our size with sharpened sticks. We are the species that crossed oceans on wooden boats. We are the species that split the atom and walked on our moon. He paused. Every single one of you could have been my enemy during the attack. I could have let you die. When the Dominion was killing your students, I could have stayed hidden. When your commanders fell, I could have escaped alone. When your defenses collapsed, I could have saved only the humans. Silence. I didn't. Not because I'm kind. Not because I'm merciful. I saved you because living allies are more valuable than dead enemies. I saved you because humanity will need friends in this galaxy. I saved you because that's what humans do. We survive. And then we build. He looked directly at the High Chancellor. So remember this. I let you live. All of you. Every species in this room owes their survival to a human you called a failure. If you want to imprison me, you can try. But you should ask yourself one question first. Do-hyun's voice dropped to almost a whisper, but everyone heard it. What happens if the next human isn't as forgiving as I am? No one spoke. No one moved. The council voted an hour later. Do-hyun was cleared of all charges. 5 years passed. Admiral Kan Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the largest human vessel ever built. He was 30 now, with gray appearing in his hair despite his young age. Command had aged him, but his eyes were still sharp. Still watching. Still waiting. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly. Half were human. Half were aliens from a dozen species. They worked together without friction. That was how Do-hyun ran his command. Yoonjia was there too. She had become his chief engineer, responsible for technology that made the entire fleet run. She had earned her position 100 times over. Han Eun-bi commanded the medical corps for 3 entire sectors now. Millions of lives saved under her leadership. Yoon Tai-woo led a fleet of his own. One of the youngest admirals in Concord history after Do-hyun himself. And Beek, Suho had become the Concord's chief human ambassador. His diplomatic skills had prevented more than one war. They had all grown from that terrible week at the academy. They had all become exactly what the galaxy needed them to be. A door opened behind Do-hyun. Suho walked in, holding a datapad. We intercepted a transmission, Suho said. From the outer rim. There's a species out there, the kind we've never seen before. They're planning to expand into Concord space. Hostile? Unknown. But they were discussing target priorities. Suho handed over the pad. They mentioned Earth. They think humans are a weak species they can easily conquer. Do-hyun read the transmission. A small smile appeared on his face. Show this to Concord Intelligence, he said. And let them know we'll handle initial contact. You want to talk first? Try diplomacy? I always try diplomacy first. Do-hyun looked out at the stars. But if they decide to attack anyway, I want to be the first thing they see. I want them to understand what they're getting into. Suho nodded. He had seen this before. The Admiral's way of preventing wars was simple. Show potential enemies exactly what would happen if they started one. One more thing, Suho said. The transmission ended with a warning from someone. An older species near their territory. Someone who knew about us. What did they say? Suho read from the pad. Abort mission. The humans have an Admiral Kang. Dahim was silent for a moment. Then he laughed, a rare sound on this bridge. Good, he said. Let them be afraid. Fear prevents more wars than diplomacy ever could. He turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, species were rising and falling. Empires were being built and destroyed. The galaxy kept moving forward, as it always had. But things were different now. Humanity had a seat at the table. Humanity had earned respect. And anyone who thought humans were still weak only needed to look at what happened on Valora, primed to learn otherwise. Kang Do-yoon had been declared a failure. Once thought now he was a legend, and he never let anyone forget that he had chosen mercy when he could have chosen revenge. The galaxy owed its peace to that choice. They had better remember it.